You know that feeling. Training ends, you were unstoppable. First touch is clean, dribbles working, everything flowing. Then match day comes. Same boots, same ball, same you. And somehow, you're a completely different player. You're slow, you're hesitant, you lose the ball in situations you'd solve easily in training. Your coach is watching and nothing works. The skills that felt automatic yesterday feel impossible today. And the worst part? You can't explain why. You're not injured, you didn't forget how to play, but something is off. Something invisible is killing your game every single time it matters most. This video is about that invisible thing, what it actually is, why it happens, and exactly how to destroy it, so the player you are in training becomes the player you are in every game. Let's start with what most people think the problem is. Most players blame nerves. I just get nervous in games. Some blame their teammates. They don't give me the ball in the right moments. Some blame the opponent. The defenders are more physical in real games. And some just accept it. I'm a training ground player. Like it's a personality type. Like it's something you're just born with. Here's the truth. None of those are the real reason. Nerves are a symptom, not the cause. The real reason goes much deeper, and once I show it to you, you'll never look at your performance the same way again. There are actually 3 layers to this problem. Most players only ever see the surface. Today, we're going underneath all of it. Layer 1, the evaluation threat. In training, nobody is truly judging you. Your coach might be watching, but there are no consequences. If you lose the ball, you try again. If a skill doesn't work, you laugh it off and go again. There is no scoreboard. There is no opponent crowd. There is no moment of truth. But the second a real game starts, something switches in your brain. Suddenly, people are watching. Your coach is making decisions about your future based on what he sees right now. Your teammates are depending on you. The opponent wants to embarrass you, and every mistake feels permanent. Your brain detects this shift, and it responds the same way it has responded to threats for thousands of years. It activates the survival system. Now let me explain what that actually does to your body. When your brain senses evaluation pressure, being judged, being watched, being tested, it releases cortisol and adrenaline. Your heart rate spikes, your muscles tighten, your breathing gets shallow. And here's the critical part most people don't know. Your prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain responsible for creativity, decision-making, and fluid movement, starts to shut down. You stop playing instinctively. You start thinking consciously about every single thing you do. Should I pass or dribble? What if I lose it here? He's coming. What do I do? And the moment you start thinking that way in a football match, you are done. Because football at any real level is too fast for conscious thought. Messi doesn't think. Neymar doesn't think. The best players in the world have brains that go almost completely silent during matches. Japanese neurologists prove this with MRI scans. Elite players show almost zero activity in the thinking part of the brain while they play. But when you feel evaluated, when you feel judged, your brain forces you back into conscious thinking mode. And that gap between who you are in training and who you are in games, that's the gap between unconscious play and conscious play. Layer 2 goes even deeper, and this one almost nobody talks about. It's called the identity mismatch. Here's what I mean. In training, you have an identity. You're the skillful one, the creative one, the one who makes things happen. Nobody is challenging that identity. You just play freely inside it. But in a real game, that identity gets threatened. The moment a defender wins the ball off you, your brain doesn't just register a lost possession. It registers an identity attack. Maybe I'm not actually that good. And to protect your ego from that feeling, your brain does something fascinating and destructive at the same time. It makes you play safe. You stop attempting the dribble because if you try and fail, it means something about who you are. You play the easy pass instead of the creative one. You avoid the situation instead of attacking it. Psychologists call this self-handicapping. You unconsciously lower your own performance to protect your self-image from being challenged. Think about that. Your own brain is working against you in real games, not because you're weak, but because you care too much about how you look. Ronaldo talked about this. He said early in his career he would sometimes avoid attempting tricks in big games because the fear of looking foolish was louder than his confidence. The same Ronaldo, who would later become one of the most fearless players in football history, had to train himself to override that instinct. And he didn't do it by caring less. He did it by building an identity so strong that no single mistake could threaten it. We'll get to how in a moment. Layer 3 is more practical but just as important. Your training environment and your match environment are completely different, and your brain knows it. In training, you always have the ball in familiar drills, familiar teammates, familiar space, familiar pressure levels. Your nervous system has mapped every scenario. It knows what to expect, so it operates on autopilot. But in a real game, everything is unpredictable. The opponent moves differently than your training partner.
The spaces open and close faster, the physical contact is harder, the noise is louder, the emotional stakes are higher, and your nervous system, which is designed to protect you from the unknown, starts firing alarm signals. This is why players who train in unrealistic conditions always struggle in real games. If your training never replicates match intensity, match pressure, match chaos, your brain will never feel safe enough to play freely when those things appear for real. The environment gap is the bridge between your training self and your match self, and most players never build that bridge properly. So how do we fix all three layers? Let's start with layer 1, the evaluation threat. The solution is something called pressure inoculation. Think of it like a vaccine. A vaccine works by exposing your body to a small controlled dose of a virus, so your immune system learns to handle it. By the time the real virus comes, your body already knows what to do. Pressure inoculation does the same thing for your brain. You deliberately create high-pressure conditions in training so your nervous system learns that pressure is not a threat, it's just the environment. Here's exactly how to do it. First, add consequences to your training. Never train in a zero-consequence environment. If you lose a 1v1, you do 10 push-ups. If your team concedes in a small-sided game, the losing team runs a sprint. Small consequences teach your brain that mistakes have weight, but they're survivable. Second, invite an audience. Train in front of people who make you feel watched. Film yourself and watch it back. The discomfort of being observed is exactly what you need to normalize. The more you perform on observation in training, the less threatening observation feels in games. Third, use the 3-second reset. Every time you make a mistake in training, give yourself exactly 3 seconds to feel whatever you feel. Then reset completely. No dwelling, no negative self-talk spiral, just 3 seconds, then move forward. This trains your emotional recovery speed, which is one of the most underrated skills in football. The players who dominate in big games are not the ones who never feel pressure. They're the ones whose nervous systems have been trained to stay functional under it. Now layer 2, the identity mismatch. This requires something more intentional. I call it identity engineering. Most footballers build their confidence on results. They feel good when they play well, they feel bad when they don't. Their identity rises and falls with every performance. That is the most fragile foundation you can build on. The players who consistently perform in real games have built their identity on something that results can't touch. Their process, their work ethic, their commitment to the game. Ronaldo talked about this. He said he never tied his identity to whether he scored 40 points or 10. His identity was built on the hours he put in before the game, hours nobody saw. So no matter what happened on the court, his sense of self remained untouched. You need to build the same thing. Here's how. Every week, write down 3 things you did as a footballer that you're proud of. Not results, not performances, actions. I stayed an extra 30 minutes to work on my weak foot. I watched film of myself and identified a pattern. I helped a teammate improve. Over time, this shifts your identity anchor from what you produce to who you are. And when your identity is anchored to who you are, no defender, no bad game, no coach's criticism can shake it. Because your identity is no longer at stake when you attempt the dribble. You're free to play. Layer 3, closing the environment gap. This is the most practical fix and you can start today. Your training must feel more like a game than a drill. Stop doing isolated skill repetitions in silence and calling it preparation. Start doing everything in game realistic conditions. Specifically 3 things. 1, always train with opposition, even if it's one person defending. Passive defenders don't exist in real games. Your brain needs to solve real problems against real resistance in training. 2, train with time pressure. Give yourself 3 touches maximum in every drill. Create situations where you have to decide fast. The match won't wait for you to be comfortable, so your training shouldn't either. 3, play small-sided games at match intensity every single session, not casual kickabouts, intense, competitive, consequence-driven games where everyone is trying to win. This is the single most effective way to close the environment gap because it replicates real game chaos in a controlled setting. The more your training looks, feels, and sounds like a real game, the smaller the gap between who you are in training and who you are when it matters. So let's bring it all together. The reason you play better in training than in real games is not that you lack talent. It's not nerves, it's not bad luck. It's 3 things working against you simultaneously. Your brain detecting evaluation pressure and shutting down your instincts, your identity being too fragile to withstand the dread of failure, and a training environment so different from real games that your nervous system treats match day like unfamiliar territory. Fix the pressure, engineer your identity, close the environment gap. Do those 3 things consistently, and the player you are in training will start showing up in every game that matters. Because that player already exists. You've seen it. Now it's time to make sure everyone else does too. Hit the protocol, take action.